The mind has a way of weaving an endless stream of thoughts, a running commentary on everything we do, feel, or imagine. It's so constant, so deeply ingrained, that we hardly notice it. Like background music playing in a shop, it's always there, influencing us subtly, even when we're not consciously paying attention. This habit begins early. As children, we absorb the voices of those around us, parents, teachers, peers, and over time they merge into our own inner voice. By the time we're adults, this self-talk feels automatic, as natural as breathing. It's not just occasional, it's a constant companion, narrating our lives, interpreting events, and judging our actions. But here's the curious thing, because it's so habitual, we rarely stop to question its tone or content. Is it encouraging? Critical? Neutral? Most of us don't know, we simply accept it as part of who we are. Yet this voice has enormous power. It can shape our mood, influence our decisions, and even color how we see ourselves in the world. This ceased chatter often goes unnoticed because it feels so normal, but its impact is profound. It's not just words, it's the lens through which we experience life. Much of the inner dialogue that fills our minds tends to lean towards self-criticism. It's as if there's a judge residing in our thoughts, constantly measuring us against impossible standards. This voice, so familiar and persistent, often points out flaws, shortcomings, or things we should have done better. It questions our choices, reminds us of past mistakes, and anticipates future failures, always keeping us on edge. This self-critical nature isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it disguises itself as practicality or concern, you're not prepared enough, or what if this doesn't work out. At other times, it's harsher, whispering phrases like, you're not good enough, or why can't you do anything right? Even in its quieter moments, it has a way of planting seeds of doubt, making us second-guess our worth and capabilities. It's a habit born of comparison and fear, fueled by years of internalizing external expectations. The world around us often reinforces the idea that we must strive for perfection, constantly improve, and never fall short. This mindset seeps into our internal dialogue, creating a loop where we judge ourselves more harshly than anyone else ever could. What makes this self-critical chatter particularly challenging is its persistence. It doesn't stop at pointing out a single flaw, it magnifies it, weaving a narrative about who we are based on one moment or mistake. And yet, we often accept this voice as truth, forgetting that it is merely a habit of thought, not an accurate reflection of who we are. Instead of allowing the familiar tone of self-criticism to dominate, there is another way, a way to reframe how you speak to yourself. This involves consciously shifting the tone and content of your inner dialogue, turning it from judgmental and harsh into compassionate and supportive. It's not about ignoring reality or sugarcoating things, but rather about choosing words that build you up instead of tearing you down. Imagine speaking to yourself the way you'd talk to a dear friend. When a friend makes a mistake or feels uncertain, you wouldn't say, "How could you mess up like that?" or "You're not good enough." You'd likely offer words of encouragement. "It's okay, you're doing your best." Or "Everyone stumbles, what matters is that you're trying." This same kindness and understanding can be applied to yourself. Reframing doesn't mean silencing your inner voice, it means redirecting it. When you notice it slipping into self-critical patterns, pause for a moment. Acknowledge the thought without judgment, and then consciously replace it with something kinder. For instance, instead of thinking, "I can't believe I failed at this," you might say, "This didn't go as planned, but I'm learning, and I'll do better next time." This practice requires awareness and intention. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, but about approaching yourself with the same compassion and patience you would offer to someone you care about. Over time, as you reframe your dialogue, you may notice that the tone of your inner voice softens. It becomes less about pointing out faults and more about guiding, encouraging, and reminding you of your inherent worth. Reframing your internal dialogue is an act of self-respect. It acknowledges that you deserve kindness, not just from others, but from yourself. By choosing to speak to yourself differently, you create a space within your mind where growth feels safe, mistakes are part of the journey, and you are enough just as you are. The way you speak to yourself is not just a passive background process, it actively shapes how you experience the world and your place within it. Your inner dialogue acts like a filter, coloring every moment, every interaction, and every decision you make. If your self-talk is harsh and judgmental, it can make the world feel like a hostile, unforgiving place. On the other hand, when it is compassionate and understanding, life itself begins to feel more open, manageable, and even joyful. This is because your thoughts influence how you interpret situations. Imagine making a mistake and your inner voice immediately says, "I'm such a failure." That single statement doesn't just comment on the mistake, it creates a ripple effect. It reinforces feelings of inadequacy, saps your confidence, and makes you hesitant to try again. But if your inner voice instead says, "Mistakes happen, this is how I learn," the same situation transforms into an opportunity for growth rather than a reason for shame. The tone of your self-talk also affects how you perceive others and their actions. When your inner dialogue is critical of yourself, it often spills over, making you more judgmental or defensive toward others. Conversely, a kind and accepting inner voice can help you approach people with greater patience and empathy, improving your relationships and fostering a sense of connection. Even your emotions are shaped by the way you talk to yourself. Negative self-talk tends to amplify feelings of anxiety, frustration, or sadness, creating a cycle that can feel difficult to escape. Positive and constructive self-talk, however, acts as a buffer, helping you to regulate your emotions and approach challenges with resilience. The most profound impact of self-talk lies in its ability to influence your beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of. Over time, the words you repeatedly say to yourself become the foundation of your self-image. If your inner dialogue tells you that you are not good enough, you may unconsciously limit yourself, avoiding opportunities or holding back from your full potential. But when you tell yourself, "I am capable, I am learning, I am growing," you begin to see yourself in a new light, unlocking possibilities you might not have dared to imagine. In this way, your self-talk is not just a reflection of your experience, it actively creates it. By choosing your words carefully, you have the power to shape a world that feels more supportive, more compassionate, and more aligned with the person you truly are. When the familiar echo of negative self-talk begins to play in your mind, it often feels automatic, as if there's no way to stop it. But in truth, you can interrupt this pattern. The first step is to pause, to notice the thought as it arises without immediately believing or engaging with it. This moment of awareness creates a space between you and the thought, allowing you to recognize it for what it is, just a thought, not an absolute truth. Pausing is an act of mindfulness. It's as simple as saying to yourself, "Wait a minute, what am I telling myself right now?" This interruption is small but powerful, as it breaks the cycle of negative thinking before it can spiral further. It's not about suppressing the thought or fighting against it, but about observing it with curiosity. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it kind? Would I say this to someone I care about? Once you've paused, the next step is to redirect. Imagine you're holding a compass, and your inner voice is guiding you down a harsh, rocky path. By redirecting, you choose a different direction, one that is softer, more supportive, and aligned with your well-being. For instance, if the thought arises, "I'll never get this right," you might redirect it to, "I'm learning, and every effort gets me closer." If the thought says, "I'm not good enough," you might counter with, "I am enough, just as I am, and I'm growing every day." This practice isn't about pretending that everything is perfect or denying challenges. It's about shifting your perspective from criticism to encouragement, from judgment to understanding. The redirection doesn't have to be grand or overly positive. Even a small shift toward neutrality or self-compassion can make a significant difference. The more you practice pausing and redirecting, the easier it becomes. Over time, you'll notice that negative self-talk loses its grip on you. It may still arise, old habits die hard, but you'll have the tools to respond differently, choosing words that nurture rather than harm. In doing so, you reclaim your inner dialogue as a source of strength and self-acceptance. And to embrace and celebrate your humanity is to fully acknowledge the essence of what it means to be alive and imperfect. It means recognizing that you are not a machine, built to function flawlessly, nor are you a problem to be fixed. You are a dynamic, ever-changing being made up of strengths and flaws, triumphs and mistakes, joys and sorrows, all of which make you beautifully human. Often we resist our imperfections, as though being human was something to overcome rather than something to honor. We berate ourselves for failing, for not knowing, for stumbling along the way. But these very stumbles are what make the journey uniquely yours. Mistakes are not signs of failure, they are the marks of growth. They show that you're trying, learning, evolving. To embrace your humanity is to see these moments not as flaws, but as the threads that weave the fabric of your life. Celebrating your humanity means finding joy in your quirks, your emotions, your unique way of being in the world. It's laughing at your little mishaps, marveling at your resilience, and taking pride in your ability to keep going, even when things are hard. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer to someone you love, acknowledging that you too deserve compassion simply because you exist. Being human also means experiencing the full spectrum of emotions, from exhilaration to despair. To embrace your humanity is to accept all these feelings without judgment, to let them flow through you without labeling them as good or bad. It's understanding that sadness, frustration, and fear are not signs of weakness but natural parts of the human experience. They are as vital as joy and excitement, each one enriching your understanding of what it means to live. When you celebrate your humanity, you stop striving for the impossible goal of perfection. Instead, you honor the beauty of imperfection, the raw, unpolished truth of being alive. You accept that life is messy and unpredictable, and that's precisely what makes it extraordinary. By letting go of the need to fix yourself, you create space for self-acceptance, for growth, and for the joy of simply being. In this embrace, you discover freedom. Freedom from the relentless pressure to be something other than what you are. Freedom to explore, to make mistakes, to be vulnerable. And in that freedom, you find the profound truth that your humanity is not something to overcome, but something to cherish and celebrate. Deliberate, kind affirmations are a powerful tool for transforming the way you perceive yourself and your world. They are not empty statements, but intentional expressions of self-encouragement that gently rewire your internal dialogue. By choosing words that are nurturing and affirming, you begin to build a foundation of self-compassion, gradually replacing the harsh, critical voice that may have long dominated your thoughts. The key to using affirmations effectively is to make them authentic. You want to choose words that resonate deeply with you, words that you can genuinely feel and believe, even if only in small doses at first. These aren't grand, unrealistic statements like "I am perfect in every way," but instead affirmations that are grounded in self-respect and truth. For example, you might say, "I am doing my best, and that's enough," or "I am worthy of love and respect just as I am." Affirmations are most effective when they are woven into the fabric of your day-to-day life. The moment you wake up, as your eyes open to greet the day, you have an opportunity to affirm your worth. "Today is a new day, and I am ready to embrace it," you might say softly to yourself. In those quiet moments before you go to bed, you can reflect on the day's experiences and offer yourself gentle gratitude. "I did the best I could today, and I am grateful for my effort." The beauty of these affirmations is their subtle, cumulative effect. Over time, the words you repeat begin to sink deeper into your subconscious, gradually replacing negative beliefs with kinder, more empowering ones. It's like planting seeds in your mind, seeds of self-love, growth, and acceptance that will slowly take root and flourish into new ways of thinking. Another way to use affirmations is to turn them into a practice of mindfulness. As you face challenges throughout the day, take a moment to pause and affirm something positive about yourself in relation to the situation. If you're feeling anxious about a presentation or meeting, you might say, "I am capable of handling this," or "I trust myself to handle whatever comes my way." These affirmations help ground you in the present moment and remind you of your inherent strengths, even in moments of doubt. The process of using kind affirmations doesn't require grand gestures, it's about consistency. By affirming your worth, your ability, and your humanity every day, you begin to reshape your self-image from one of criticism to one of celebration. You'll find that your inner dialogue becomes softer, more supportive, and more aligned with your true essence, helping you face the world with greater confidence and compassion. Experimenting with a new mindset is an invitation to explore fresh perspectives, to step outside the confines of your usual thought patterns, and to see the world through a different lens. It's not about making drastic changes or forcing yourself into a new way of thinking, but about giving yourself permission to try on new beliefs and approaches, like clothes that you might never have considered before. The first step is to recognize that your current mindset is not fixed. It is shaped by your experiences, your upbringing, your environment, and the thoughts you've repeated over time. And while these patterns of thinking have served you in some way, they are not the only way to perceive yourself and the world around you. By experimenting with a new mindset, you begin to challenge the assumptions that limit you and open yourself up to new possibilities. Start small. It can be as simple as changing the way you approach challenges. Instead of thinking, "This is too difficult, I can't do it," experiment with reframing it to, "This is an opportunity to learn and grow." In these small shifts, you create space for curiosity and resilience instead of fear and defeat. The next time you make a mistake, instead of seeing it as failure, try to think of it as a lesson. "This didn't go as I planned, but it's part of my process of growth." A new mindset also involves cultivating an openness to the present moment, free from the constant push to control or perfect every detail. Rather than worrying about the future or ruminating on the past, experiment with embracing the flow of life as it comes. You might find that releasing your need for certainty opens up room for spontaneity and joy, allowing you to experience life more fully. Experimenting with your mindset also means allowing yourself to break free from perfectionism. It's about accepting that there's no right or wrong way to be, to do, or to feel. Instead of holding yourself to an unattainable standard, try adopting a mindset of compassion and curiosity. "I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be willing to try." It's essential to approach this experiment with a sense of playfulness and non-judgment. There's no right or wrong outcome. The process is just about exploring how different ways of thinking feel in your body and mind. If a new mindset feels light and free, and keep it. If it doesn't, simply let it go and try another approach. The goal is not to force change, but to invite it gently and allow yourself the flexibility to grow in unexpected ways. Over time, experimenting with new ways of thinking will naturally shift your perception. You'll begin to notice that you no longer react in the same old ways to stress, uncertainty, or challenges. You'll approach life with more ease, creativity, and openness, knowing that your mindset is a fluid tool you can adjust at any moment to serve you better. In this process, you not only discover new ways of seeing the world, but also uncover new layers of your own potential. In the end, the way you talk to yourself is a powerful force that shapes how you experience the world. By shifting from self-criticism to kindness, pausing and redirecting negative thoughts, embracing your humanity, using affirmations, and experimenting with new mindsets, you begin to transform your internal landscape. This shift doesn't require perfection, but rather a willingness to approach yourself with understanding and compassion. Through this practice, you create an environment within your mind where growth, self-acceptance, and resilience can flourish. Just a few days of intentionally choosing kindness can open the door to a life of greater peace, confidence, and fulfillment, and remind you that you are enough just as you are.